The 1970s weren't just a decade. They were a shift in rhythm, in style, in life itself. Everything smelled like gasoline, fresh plastic, and newly unwrapped records. Homes were covered in thick shag carpets. TV showed us a world we barely understood, and music sounded different, freer, bolder. It was a time when simple things felt eternal, and the strange became normal. If you grew up in the 72nd, you haven't forgotten. Today, it's time to remember. Before there were smartphones, tablets, or virtual reality headsets, there was Pong. A simple black and white screen, a square ball, and two paddles, and somehow it was revolutionary. Pong was not just a video game. It was the first time you could bring an arcade into your living room and play as long as you wanted. Kids gathered around the television, mesmerized by the slow-moving blip bouncing back and forth. It may look primitive today, but at the time, Pong felt like the future had arrived. It taught patience, competition, and gave kids a reason to fight over whose turn came next. Arcades were dark, noisy, and full of flashing lights, but nothing captured the imagination like Space Invaders. The pixelated aliens slowly descending, the heart-pounding tension as you fought to survive wave after wave. Space Invaders was more than a game. It was a cultural moment that pulled kids and adults into the world of gaming. Long lines formed for a chance to play, quarters piled up on the cabinet in silent competition. It was not just about high scores, it was about bragging rights, courage under pressure, and escaping into something bigger than yourself. Can you still hear the sound of those invaders marching closer? Only in the 1970s could a rock become a national craze. Sold in a box with straw and an instruction manual, the pet rock was marketed as the perfect low-maintenance companion. No feeding, no walking, no grooming, just a rock with googly eyes and your imagination. Kids gave them names, personalities, and even built little homes for them. It was absurd, it was hilarious, and somehow it worked. The pet rock became a symbol of how the 1970s turned even the simplest thing into a cultural phenomenon. Clackers looked innocent enough, two hard acrylic balls attached by a string, but anyone who played with them remembers the bruises and the noise. The goal was to swing them together until they clacked rhythmically above and below your hand. They were loud, unpredictable, and dangerously addictive. Eventually, they were pulled from shelves for safety reasons, but by then, clackers had already left their mark. They were a perfect example of how kids in the 1970s played rough, and no one seemed too concerned. A lunchbox in the 1970s was more than something to carry your sandwich in. It was a badge of honor, a daily expression of what you loved most. From superheroes to television shows, these sturdy metal boxes said as much about you as your haircut or your sneakers. They came with matching thermoses, usually leaking a little, but still cool to have. Walking into school with the right lunchbox made you feel part of something, part of a tribe. Can you still picture yours sitting on the cafeteria table? For a brief moment in the 1970s, people believed a simple ring could reveal their deepest emotions. Mood rings changed color with heat, promising to expose your hidden feelings calm, anxious, or angry. It was part science, part magic, and everyone wanted one on their finger. They became more than jewelry. They were conversation starters and symbols of the era's obsession with self-discovery. People checked their rings as if they were checking their hearts. Even today, seeing one brings back memories of wondering if blue really meant you were truly at peace. Nothing says 1970s like shag carpeting. Thick, colorful, and impossible to vacuum properly. It covered floors from suburban basements to teenage bedrooms. It was soft under your feet, perfect for lying on with a magazine or a bowl of cereal. The colors were unforgettable: burnt orange, avocado green, sunshine yellow. Even if it looked terrible by today's standards, back then it felt cozy and modern. Shag carpet was not just flooring. It was a lifestyle choice that defined an entire generation's homes. One movie changed how people looked at the ocean forever. Jaws was more than a film. It was a cultural earthquake that gave birth to the summer blockbuster. Suddenly, vacations by the beach came with a side of fear, and sharks became everyone's worst nightmare. People lined up around blocks to see it, gripping their seats as the mechanical shark terrorized the screen. It turned Steven Spielberg into a household name and made us all wonder what might be lurking beneath the waves. Can you still hear that ominous music building in your head? In 1977, Star Wars arrived, and nothing was ever the same again. From the opening crawl to the final battle, it transported audiences to a galaxy far, far away and sparked a cultural obsession that still burns bright today. It was not just a movie, it was a phenomenon. Kids wanted the toys, the posters, the lunchboxes. For many, it defined what childhood looked like for years to come. Star Wars taught us to dream bigger, to believe in heroes, and to trust that good would always triumph in the end. Some songs do not just stay on the radio. They become part of the culture. The hustle was more than a hit, it brought people to their feet and onto the dance floor. Everywhere from roller rinks to school dances, everyone wanted to learn the moves. Disco was in full swing, and the hustle captured that energy perfectly. It was playful, catchy, and gave people permission to let loose. Even now, those first few notes can make you want to move your feet and spin under the lights. Nothing felt cooler than lacing up your roller skates and heading to the local rink. For kids and teens, roller disco was not about fitness or fashion. It was about freedom. Under the disco lights, with music blasting, you could glide, spin, and feel like you belonged to something bigger. It was a place where crushes happened, friendships were tested, and weekends seemed to last forever. The music, the outfits, the clatter of skates on the wooden floor, it all became part of growing up in the 1970s. If you could skate backwards, you were officially impressive. Long car rides with your parents often meant one thing: 8-track tapes playing on repeat. These chunky cartridges might seem clumsy now, but back then, they brought music wherever you went. Whether it was the Bee Gees or Fleetwood Mac, their songs became the soundtrack of every childhood road trip. You learned patience waiting for the song to come back after changing tracks mid-play. And when you finally got your own car someday, having an 8-track player felt like a rite of passage. Music was not just something you listened to, it traveled with you. You did not have to go to Studio 54 to feel the pull of disco. Even as kids, you could not escape the beat of KC and the Sunshine Band or the Bee Gees. Their songs blasted from radios, roller rinks, and school dances, filling the air with rhythm and glitter. Some danced, some rolled their eyes, but everyone knew the words. Disco became a part of growing up, whether you liked it or not. It was colorful, loud, and impossible to ignore, just like childhood in the 1970s. Saturday mornings were for cartoons, but nestled between the superheroes and slapstick came something sneaky: schoolhouse rock. These short, catchy songs taught grammar, history, and math without ever feeling like school. You might not have realized it, but you were learning as you sang along. Conjunctions, bills, and multiplication tables stuck with you because they were wrapped in music and animation. Even today, you could probably still sing "I'm Just a Bill" without missing a word. It made being a kid in the 1970s just a little bit smarter. Evenings meant gathering around the television with family or friends. Shows like Happy Days, Massachusetts SH, and Saturday Night Live shaped what it meant to grow up during this time. They gave you laughs, lessons, and sometimes jokes you did not fully understand yet. You quoted Fonzie at school, laughed at Gilda Radner's sketches, and maybe teared up at an episode of MASH. These shows were not just background noise, they were part of your childhood language. They taught you how to laugh, how to think, and how to tell a story. For kids in the 1970s, no one seemed braver or cooler than Evel Knievel. He was the stuntman who defied gravity, broke bones, and still got back on his bike. Whether jumping over buses or crashing spectacularly, he became a hero for kids who believed anything was possible. His name was stamped on lunchboxes, action figures, and even crank-powered stunt toys. You did not just watch Evel Knievel, you tried to imitate him with your bicycle and homemade ramps. Childhood was about daring, falling, and getting up again, just like he did. Growing up meant watching older brothers, cousins, and even your dad step out in loud suits and towering shoes. Leisure suits and platform shoes turned men into disco warriors, strutting with confidence through malls and family parties. It looked bizarre, but it felt like fashion was supposed to be fun. Kids laughed at those wide lapels and shiny fabrics, yet secretly wondered if they would wear them one day. The colors, the shapes, the boldness of it all left a permanent stamp on how we remember the 1970s. Style was loud, proud, and anything but boring. In bedrooms across the country, something hypnotic bubbled and glowed. Lava lamps were more than just decor. They were a symbol of cool, of mystery, of the psychedelic vibes still echoing from the 60s. Watching the blobs rise and fall could steal whole afternoons. Whether your lamp sat on your dresser or your older sibling's nightstand, its strange beauty felt modern and futuristic. The soft, colorful light made bedrooms feel like portals to somewhere groovy. It was childhood, lit from within by wax and wonder. Having a waterbed was like owning a spaceship. It sounded futuristic, it felt weird, and it became a must-have for the cool parents or the luckiest teens. The sloshing mattress made sleep an adventure, even if getting comfortable took practice. Some kids dreamed of the day they could have one. Others simply stared in wonder. Waterbeds became part of the dream of adulthood. Shag rugs, lava lamps, and a bed that moved like the ocean. Childhood bedrooms never felt more alive. Even as kids, we understood that something big had happened. In 1977, the world stopped to mourn Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. Television news showed crowds crying, radios played his songs, and even homes that did not listen to rock knew it mattered. For many, it was the first celebrity death that truly registered. It marked the end of an era, and even young hearts felt the loss. His music stayed, but something about the world changed in that moment. The 1970s were full of moments that shaped who we became: daring stunts, strange furniture, unforgettable music. Growing up then meant being surrounded by colors, sounds, and ideas that still echo today. It was not just about things, it was about the feelings they created. If this trip through time brought back a smile, do not forget to subscribe, because remembering where we come from makes the present even richer.